صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
This salah was proudly brought to you by Khan's Chemical Industry. May this salah enlighten your soul and bring about endless blessings throughout your day.
Having a clean, comfortable home is every homeowner's pride. That's why Khan's Chemicals have developed and manufactured prime yet affordable quality household brands Starlight, Miracle Mum, Exterminate, and Angie to care for your home and family. With a wide range of fabric softeners, dishwashing liquids, bleachers, and all-purpose cleaners, pine gels, bubble baths, and much more, Khan's Chemicals ensures your home remains our number one priority. For sales and other inquiries, call 011 933 4021. Khan's Chemicals, cleaning your home the way you want.
Looking to book your next holiday? Make your way to One Stop Travel and Tours. At One Stop Travel, we offer a wide range of holidays at the most competitive prices. Group tours, tailor-made holidays, cruises, transfers, accommodation, travel insurance, and car hire. Visit our website on www.onestoptours.co.za for our current Turkey specials, Mauritius school holiday deals, and Umrah packages. Choose from a multitude of pre-made packages. Visit one of our branches in Overport, Gateway, Musgrave Centre, Fordsburg, Westwood Mall, Pavilion Shopping Centre, Chatsworth, Phoenix, and Cape Town. Contact us today on 0860 109 500. One Stop Travel and Tours, your one-stop travel shop.
Looking to book a venue for that special occasion? Come and book the Conference Centre on 207 West Road or Community Hall on 189 West Road, which accommodates 120 to 300 people with ample and safe parking. For all your hall requirements, contact the reservations department on 031 208 1601 or email us at reservations@alansar.org.za. Save the date, don't delay, book away.
Slice of Life campaign. Since its inception, our Slice of Life has touched the lives of countless individuals through our distribution to schools, old age homes, orphanages, and deserving families within our community. This initiative has been instrumental in alleviating hunger. For only 9 rand a loaf, you will be providing a family with their daily staple, bread. Donate now on www.alansar.org.za or call outreach on 031 208 1601.
Station for Conversation, Radio Al Ansar.
And we're back. Assalamu alaikum. You are listening to the Social Network right here on Radio Al Ansar. As mentioned, we have a special guest in studio with us. Let me do the formalities as we have to. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Brother Yusuf Umar, a trailblazer in mobile journalism, as well as a co-founder of Scene TV. With a career that spans traditional media giants like CNN and the Hindustan Times, Brother Yusuf has redefined storytelling through the lens of mobile technology as well as social media. His innovative approach has empowered countless citizen journalists and brought crucial, underreported issues like the Palestinian genocide to the forefront, and amongst the other big stories that he has encountered along his journey. Brother Yusuf, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome. It's such an honor to have you in studio with us here today.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Really good to be here and excited to be in Durban. Always great.
It's always good to have you here. I mean, Durban's like a second home to you?
For sure. At this stage, I mean, my wife and I have been nomadic for a couple of years now, and I'd say it's probably one of our first homes.
Oh, wow. Okay. So when you talk about nomadic, like how often do you travel? Where do you travel to? What would you consider a sort of home to you right now?
Literally, people don't understand this when we say it, but we don't have a apartment. We don't have a house. We don't have a place where we keep our stuff.
Sure.
We live out of hand luggage, and we're in a different city every week or every month of the year. That has been the case for the last couple of years.
I don't know if you're complaining or you're happy about that while you're explaining it to
do I sound morbid? No, it's an absolute privilege. And we don't take it for granted. I think it's got a lot more complicated with a child. We've got a 16-month-old now. And that brings up a lot of questions. People are like, oh my God, how do you have a baby? You're traveling every day. And he's vibing. He's loving it. He's getting to see the world. And yeah, it's been great.
And what language do you speak with the baby? English?
For
now.
Well, I only speak English, so it'd be kind of weird if I was speaking to
I'm thinking if you're traveling all over the world, you pick up 1-2 words here and there, so it'll be a unique one. I mean, let's talk about you, Yusuf Umar. So some of our listeners out there must be excited to find out who you are. Some may know who you are already, but just tell us, who is Yusuf Umar? Where do you hail from? Give us some background information about you, your schooling, your education, your tertiary education, all of that, and how you got into journalism.
Mate, who am I? I'm 35 years old and I still have not figured out that question. Have you figured out that question? Who are you?
You look like a kid. I ask that question every single morning, brother.
Existential question.
I'm telling you.
I was born in the UK. I was raised in Australia. I was married here in South Africa.
As you do.
As you do. Just, around a comrades, proposed at the end. But my career journey...
You proposed at the end of the comrades?
Mate, I was dehydrated, hallucinating. I was with my dad. He actually said, like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you in a sound state of mind? But yeah, I did.
I think that's right for your dad to ask that kind of question in any given situation.
For sure. I was already down on one knee at the end of the comrades, so just
as you should.
The likely next step.
Yeah.
But my professional career actually started here in Durban because I graduated from Rhodes University, did a journalism degree, wanted to be a foreign correspondent. And I was like this young 21-year-old schmuck. And they're like, you don't have any experience. Why the hell would we send you everywhere? So when I was in 2010, I actually hitchhiked from South Africa to Syria, from Durban to Damascus. But that journey started right here in a Durban bus station. I remember my mom and dad nervously waving goodbye to,
21 years old.
Yeah, you've raised this kid, you've nurtured them. You're like, oh my God, taking care of them your whole life. And then just like throwing them off into the wind. But that journey was really foundational because along that journey of 12,000 kilometers up 12 different countries, I learned to become a one-man band storyteller.
Wow.
To shoot and edit with my mobile phone, to write stories, to podcast, to, use a 360 footage. And like just at a time where newsrooms were running out of budget and consolidating, there was this emergence of this new skill set of an individual that could do many things. Mm-hmm. So it was really an opportunity to craft those skills. That was the beginning of becoming a journalist.
And this was during the time of the beginning of social media when you started your journey, yeah?
It was the beginning of social media for sure, and video starting to merge on the internet. But I think more importantly, on an international canvas, it was the beginning of the Arab Spring. So I finished that trip and by complete, as I think you'd call it in South Africa, by complete fluke.
Yeah.
By complete fluke.
Hey, for sure.
I rocked up in Egypt during the first Arab Spring.
Yeah.
And right place at the wrong time. I'm filming all this content from Cairo airport. And yeah, that was kind of my first big break. Ended up coming back to South Africa and joining independent newspapers. I was a newspaper journalist, pen and paper.
Yeah. So you're doing your dream, yeah?
Yeah. South Africa is an amazing place to learn to be a journalist because it's so easy to be a journalist.
We've got the best politics. We've got the best news worldwide.
There's so much happening, right? There is, severe inequality. You'd be you're a young cub reporter going out and covering like these massive mining protests with people that are fighting for basic living wages. We had Marikana. We had Nelson Mandela's passing. It's just such a complicated country. So yeah, it's kind of like when they send doctors and surgeons to South Africa from the US and they, they're in Baragwana Hospital and they're suddenly learning to patch up bullet holes and they do so much in one night. It's the same for a journalist. This is a great foundational country to kind of develop your skills.
That's amazing stuff. Now, you've been in the industry for like 14 years now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So independent newspapers for 4 years. I was at the Cape Argus, the Cape Times. I came out here to Durban and joined the Sunday Tribune. Even did some stuff for the Indian version, the Herald.
Isn't the Post?
The Post
and the Herald. You're right. Yeah. The Herald.
Yeah, those are really interesting stories. You get sent out to a community where somebody's found an onion which they think has the word Allah in it, and you're like,
oh wow, then you have to report on that. Yeah, you had those are the days growing up. Anything fascinated us.
And then eventually I ended up getting a job at ETV in CA. I was a TV journalist and did that whole thing.
Okay, so it's been a passion in you for some time, I'm sure, isn't it? But what was the sort of catalyst that said, I want to do that one day?
Some people, their entire life growing up, they just have that calling. Mine wasn't that at all. And
what was it at first?
I think
doctor, lawyer,
no,
businessman.
I thought I wanted to be a marketer. I actually studied marketing and management, which is like a very middle class, lack of direction kind of degree when you kind of don't know what you want to do.
And no offense to those.
No offense to those, but like I finished that and then I realized I actually didn't want to sell people stuff they didn't really need, right? Like I think we've got enough of that. But I think like my message to people listening is you might have this anxiety of like not finding your passion or your calling, and that can be really anxiety inducing. I'm like, oh my God, am I not going to find what I love? the solution to that is just experiences. Is just to try lots and lots of things.
Yeah.
So for me, I ended up applying for everything. I applied for biomedical science and all these different things, and I ended up getting an opportunity to do journalism. Tried it, and I was like, wow, this fit like a hand in a glove. I was like, wait, you're gonna pay me to travel around the world and to talk to people, and that's a job? And they're like, yeah, like that's a pretty sweet job.
That's the best way to describe it, isn't it?
Yeah, travel and meet people and listen to their stories. That's it.
Now, talking about your travels, I mean, I'm sure you've traveled far and wide and vast areas and in places people wouldn't even dream of going. So talk us through what has been the highlight of your journeys thus far, taking us back from your very first international journey, like you mentioned, the Arab Springs, but beyond that, something local, something far and beyond, and something that is relevant to our society and to our times.
Yeah, as a journalist, you really have the opportunity to see the very best and worst of humanity.
Yeah,
you get to cut into people's lives for a day and taste it and kind of be a fly on the wall into all these kinds of unusual situations that you wouldn't expect to ordinarily find yourself in. I mean, 2012, I traveled to Congo, where an ammunitions depot exploded in the middle of a civil population, killing 200 people.
Wow.
And I went out there with Gift of the Givers, and we were, we had these dogs, and we were looking for dead bodies.
Jeez.
And that 2014, I joined the same organization, Gift of the Givers, and we were smuggled into Syria, this time covering the Syrian civil war with a group of South African doctors that were building a hospital. And that was legitimately dangerous. I mean, the first day we got there, missiles were flying over the mountains, knocking the tops of the mountains off. In fact, the guy whose house I stayed at died. Nihad was his name. So I think that's the kind of the darker side of some of the travel experiences. The more positive things are finding people around the world creating the most unexpected innovations to problems in their communities. Those are the really beautiful moments that I really remember and hold on to. It's going to Tanzania and meeting a woman who was training rats how to sniff out landmines.
What?
So farmers can get that. Yeah, because rats are really smart, right? They're problem solvers. So you can teach them to do all kinds of things. And in this case, she was teaching them to find bombs. I met a guy in Cape Town, actually, who was taking human urine and turning it. You're looking at me like, where is the sentence going?
Well, I saw something like this in Carte Blanche years ago.
Taking human urine and turning into bricks to build houses. Incredible innovations. And you're thinking, well, why the hell do you want to use human urine to build bricks? Normal bricks are really bad for the environment. You got to heat them up in ovens to a really high temperature. These urine bricks you could make at room temperature, and they were actually stronger than real bricks, than normal bricks. Yeah.
So what's the secret?
The secret is a bacteria that actually gets unlocked by the potassium in the urine. Basically, if it's actually inspired by shells. When you look in the ocean, you see these shells around crabs. And shells are really hard. And you ask yourself, well, why are shells so hard? That chemical process that creates a hardened shell was what inspired the scientists to say, well, how did shells get so hard? Oh, okay, there's a bunch of chemicals there. There's a bacteria there. Let's replicate that. And then they actually realized that urine was the activating agent that binded it all together.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. You need 200 people's urine to make a brick. I know because I had to collect it.
You had to collect. You can ask Ted if you want.
Right, after this interview, we're going to be going around with a bucket.
Yeah. Don't waste the waste.
They call it liquid gold.
Liquid gold. Goodness me. But it just shows that something like journalism, it's not like an office job where you sit and do one thing the whole day. It's like different stories from different background, different countries, as you said, like a fly on the wall. So it's like every day is a new adventure, isn't it?
And people think when you say, oh, you do stories, there's somebody who's listening to this right now and they're like, oh, Bicharo, that's so cute. Like, that's such a cute job, but we're here doing real work, right? We're manufacturing something or making something, or there's some accountant banging out numbers, and those jobs are all really important. But I would argue that stories are actually the singular most important thing in the world.
One of the oldest.
The oldest, but they also are what determines everything. From who you vote for is a good story that's told. Who you pray to is a story that's told. Even during COVID, the fact that we all wore masks. We wore masks because we were told a story. The story was, hey, there's this virus, and if you want to stop the spread, you're going to wear masks and you're going to social distance. Storytelling is everything. Storytelling is what brings millions of people together behind a cause. Storytelling is what, at its best, at its worst is PR and fluff, but at its best is gathering and galvanizing billions of people around the world behind the Free Palestine movement. It's a story. We're finally hearing the real story. We've heard a story that was inaccurate for the last 75 years.
Yeah.
Now the real stories emerge. So storytelling is it can easily be diminished as this cute, like soft thing, but it's actually, in my mind, the most important thing.
Absolutely. Now, when you tackle a sort of story, an article, or a headline, how would you approach it? I mean, you're a very bubbly personality. So how do you say, the common phrase goes, the time and place for everything. So how do you take something that's serious and tell the story in a serious manner, and something that's playful and tell it in that kind of manner? So how do you sort of juggle that responsibility as a journalist based on your personality and how to tell the story?
Yeah, when I was in the newsrooms, I almost came across as like a bipolar journalist because I was
all over the place.
Yeah, like you'd see me covering the Comrades or like the Cape Argus, and you're like, oh my God, it's that guy running. And then the next day you'd be like, oh, and he's covering a war zone or a massive protest.
So you're gonna be versatile, isn't it?
I think no, a lot of people do pick a lane. Like you get political reporters, like we've just hired Kenita Hunter, and she's a hardcore political reporter. But I think that the central through line, and I use this word carefully, is that content nowadays on social media has to be somewhat entertaining. Even if it's a serious topic, it has to be told in an entertaining way.
Give me an example. Like how would you elaborate on that?
Entertaining doesn't mean making fun of, or even funny. Entertaining means that like it is, for me at least, garnering or worthy of your attention. So, for example, we were in London recently, and we were covering these massive Palestine protests. The boring way to do that, the non-entertaining way, would be like, we're at the London protest today. There are 100,000 people here. They're all here in solidarity with Palestine. Some people are saying that they are X, Y, and Z. That's the straight up and down.
Yeah.
But when you come up with an entertaining angle, for example, we went into it and we said, we're going to ask everybody there, are you Muslim? Are you Muslim? Are you Muslim? Are you Muslim? And they'd reply, no.
Yeah.
And then the angle is, oh, wow, Palestine's not a Muslim story.
Thing, yeah.
It's a human rights story. So do you know what I mean? Like, that's a protest. It's a serious story. It's a serious topic. But we tackled it from an entertaining way. Or we've got a piece coming out today which looks at 5 things that Jacob Zuma and Donald Trump have in common.
Do share.
And like at its core, there's some really serious stuff there, right? They're both convicted felons. They both have sexual misconduct allegations against them.
Both former presidents, yeah.
Yeah, both former presidents. They both are working with their daughters. He's working with his daughter at MK, and obviously Trump is working with Ivanka. So again, you could do a straight up and down piece about like the similarities of or rather, you could do a straight up and down piece about how Donald Trump has inspired many right of center Trumps around the world, or you could find an entertaining way into that. Like, here's 5 things Donald Trump and Jacob Zuma have in common. And like at that point,
that's really a draw card. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got, okay, tell me, I've got to listen. Tell me more.
Yeah. Because nowadays we've also noticed that people's attention span has diminished over the years due to social media, because there's a bombardment of content everywhere. Yeah. I think when we were growing up, we would just stick to the sort of 1, 2, 3, 4 channels. We watched certain series on a Monday, and it was all sort of regulated content that we were exposed to. Now it's vast.
Yeah. I'll dispute you I'll disagree with you on the attention span thing. Though.
Okay.
I think a lot of people say this. They're like, young people have no attention span anymore.
It depends on the content.
Yeah, they will binge the whole of Game of Thrones in one night. So they certainly have attention for certain types of content. And yes, they might have a 2-screen experience where they're on Game of Thrones, but they're also Snapchatting.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean, yeah.
But I think, to your point, what has happened is because of the democratization of media has just got so much better. We were previously, there was like,
monotonous,
maybe, there were like 500 people that worked at like NBC, BBC, Paramount, Fox, and they were like, this is good content. These are good scripts. And TikTok and Snapchat and these platforms have said, nah, bruh.
This is the content you know.
Yeah, like this kid out in Soweto is way funnier than the entire group of writers that you had in Hollywood combined, right? So it's just like, it's lifted the bar on what is funny, what is entertaining, like 10x. It's amazing.
So doesn't that also say a lot about people and the majority and the masses, what they find is entertaining and what they find is something worthy of their watching?
Well, it's like that old Andy Warhol phrase that everyone will have there. Was it 15 minutes of fame or 5 minutes of fame?
Something like that, yeah.
What we found is the internet has become incredibly niche and specific. So it's not about anymore having one piece of content that has 1 billion views. It's actually, hey, your timeline's got a whole bunch of content that's relevant to you because you're into gymming and cycling and you play paddle, and my timeline's different to me. So do you know what I mean? Like, the metrics of success have drastically changed.
Yeah, it has. I think, based on social media and the things that are out there, people want, especially the youth nowadays, I'm a bit concerned. I don't know about you. I mean, you got a youngster as well. I'm at an age also considering, having kids and seeing, is it the society that we want to grow our kids into there? Are you not concerned? To an extent,
it's like everything, right? Like there's pros and cons of technology, and overwhelmingly, I believe that the pros of this technology have outweighed. And I think Palestine is the perfect example of that.
We will talk about that. It's time for us to go for the 4 p.m. news bulletin. When we do return, we continue with Brother Yusuf taking us up to 4:30. Stay tuned.
Radio Al Ansar, Durban, 90.4 FM, Peter Maritzburg, 105.6 FM.
Radio Al Ansar, your trusted source for all critical updates and information with regards to Hajj 1445.
Radio Al Ansar. An informative Islamic global perspective. This is Al Ansar News.
Making news this hour, the 5th of June, the news from Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Maritzburg 105.6 FM. Eskom restores power in storm-stricken KwaZulu-Natal. America Monina, Eskom says about half of the KwaZulu-Natal homes whose power was knocked down during the storm on Monday have had their electricity restored. Eskom says more than 124,000 households in the north and south of the province were plunged into darkness as severe weather struck parts of KwaZulu-Natal. Eskom's Joyce Zidioni says their technicians are striving to restore power. Moniz Thabo Bester, who is convicted of murder, today tells the High Court in Bloemfontein to order his death sentence and release his co-accused. Bester's lawyer, Mohammed Sidat, has withdrawn from the case, citing consultation difficulties. In an outburst, Bester addressed the court, claiming the justice system is unfair. He also alleged that political interference is controlling court proceedings. He says he's ready for a death sentence.
Special under the previous Act of Correctional Services, of Criminal Prosecution, Act 126 of 92, that a death sentence be given as a petition, that the public signs a petition and I be given a death sentence, and immediately I will agree to it. So we end this matter. I came here with 80 cars. I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I've been having chains on my feet. My feet are ice at this point. I can barely feel my toes. This is not the way I want to proceed, Your Honor. If it means that this court can accept the petition and the public can sign it, and I can be put to rest, and we can put all this, because I am at peace. I know what I've done. I know what I've not done. I am not perfect. But one thing I know for a fact, that none of these things would exist if there was no backhand of political watchdogs that control the situation.
Zizi Kodwa has resigned as Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture with immediate effect. Spokesperson Lita Mpondwana says today that Kodwa had informed President Ramaphosa of his resignation. Kodwa appeared at the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court sitting at the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court in Gauteng East Rand today. Kodwa and the former EOH executive Jan McKay are facing corruption charges. They have been granted bail of 30,000 rands each. The ANC spokesperson Mahlengi Bengu Mutsiri has this to say on Zizi Kodwa's future in the ANC.
Different processes followed, including appearance at the Integrity Commission. Some of them presented themselves to the Integrity Commission of the ANC, and the Integrity Commission of the ANC would have found, made a finding on each of those comrades. And so it was important to allow law enforcement institutions to work. And on the matter of Zizi Kodwa, so I'm just trying to say we can't conflate all of them and group them, because there are different scenarios with each of the comrades that I mentioned in the state capture report. But indeed, if I was in that situation, I would have allowed the ANC to move forward and a step aside in order to spare the organization. But we need to respect the fact that people have rights and they can exercise their rights in law, including taking reports on review, for example. That is entirely acceptable in a constitutional democracy.
Back here in KwaZulu-Natal, a man who was allegedly caught in possession of explosives appeared in court in Pinetown today. The 39-year-old was arrested in Kwadabega, west of Durban. The KwaZulu-Natal Hawks Simpiwe Mhlongo says officers acted on a tip-off. A joint operation was swiftly conducted, and in the early hours of the 4th of June, police proceeded to the said house. Mhlongo says a search was conducted during which 9 sticks of explosives, 4 detonators, and 39 live rounds of ammunition were found. The suspect was placed under arrest and charged accordingly. The international story. The British Labour Party faces electoral consequences due to its unwavering support for Israel, leading to discontentment among Muslim supporters. More on that story as it develops. A quick reminder of our top story. Eskom says about half of the KwaZulu-Natal homes whose power was knocked down during Monday's storm have had their electricity restored. Eskom says more than 124,000 households in the north and in the south of the province were plunged into darkness. That's news.
Radio Al-Ansar, Durban, 90.4 FM. Pietermaritzburg, 105.6 FM.
Looking to book your next holiday? Make your way to One Stop Travel and Tours. At One Stop Travel, we offer a wide range of holidays at the most competitive prices. Group tours, tailor-made holidays, cruises, transfers, accommodation, travel insurance, and car hire. Visit our website on www.onestoptours.co.za for our current Turkey specials, Mauritius school holiday deals, and Umrah packages. Choose from a multitude of pre-made packages. Visit one of our branches in Overport, Gateway, Musgrave Centre, Fordsburg, Westwood Mall, Pavilion Shopping Centre, Chatsworth, Phoenix, and Cape Town. Contact us today on 0860 109 500. One Stop Travel and Tours, your one-stop travel shop.
Radio Al-Ansar, your trusted source for all critical updates and information with regards to Hajj 1445.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To all the listeners of Radio Al-Ansar FM series, Markaz Sahaba. Yes, indeed, I am the second deputy of South African Hajj and Umrah Council, providing you with an update on as far as Hajj is concerned. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, the Hujjaj are indeed getting ready. As you all may know, that the first of the Hijjah falls on Friday this week, and almost over 95% Hujjaj are in Mecca and in Azizia. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. In terms of temperature, yes, it is fairly hot, and it is actually ranging between 40 to 45, 46 degrees. We urge the Hujjaj or the pilgrims to hydrate and encourage them to always, take sips of water in order to remain hydrated. Alhamdulillah, it is indeed wonderful to see the Hujjaj that they are getting prepared, and most of them, of course, by now they have moved to Mecca and Azizia, and of course the few that are still in Medina will be moving to Mecca come Friday, the 1st of Dhul Hijjah. Alhamdulillah, we had no serious incidents. The Hujjaj are in high spirit, and Alhamdulillah, whenever we interact with them, they are showing, a spirit of confidence. And of course, we also encourage the Hujjaj to be patient, because Hajj is about patience. And of course, they also have to be tolerant and to try to do their utmost best to ensure that they don't allow any little things to, spoil their Hajj. Yeah, so Alhamdulillah, all is good. And we can only ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to make it easy for our Hujjaj, as there could be some that may have some ailments. We ask Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to, accord them the opportunity to fulfill the 5th pillar of Islam, a journey of a lifetime. Alhamdulillah, we are grateful to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala that we are able to interact with the Hujjaj on different, at different levels. That is all for now, and inshallah, we will try to provide these updates from time to time. With me here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, in the beautiful city of the Prophet, Madinatul Munawwara. I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Looking to book your next holiday? Make your way to One Stop Travel and Tours. At One Stop Travel, we offer a wide range of holidays at the most competitive prices. Group tours, tailor-made holidays, cruises, transfers, accommodation, travel insurance, and car hire. Visit our website on www.onestoptours.co.za for our current Turkey specials, Mauritius school holiday deals, and Umrah packages. Choose from a multitude of pre-made packages. Visit one of Gateway, Musgrave Centre, Fordsburg, Westwood Mall, Pavilion Shopping Centre, Chatsworth, Phoenix, and Cape Town. Contact us today on 0860 109 500. One Stop Travel and Tours, your one-stop travel shop. Looking to book your next holiday? Make your way to One Stop Travel and Tours. At One Stop Travel, we offer a wide range of holidays at the most competitive prices. Group tours, tailor-made holidays, cruises, transfers, accommodation, travel insurance, and car hire. Visit our website on www.onestoptours.co.za for our current Turkey specials, Mauritius school holiday deals, and Umrah packages. Choose from a multitude of pre-made packages. Visit one of our branches in Overport, Gateway, Musgrave Centre, Fordsburg, Westwood Mall, Pavilion Shopping Centre, Chatsworth, Phoenix, and Cape Town. Contact us today on 0860 109 500. One Stop Travel and Tours, your one-stop travel shop.
The views and opinions expressed by the guest and presenters of Radio Al Ansar are not necessarily the views and opinions of Radio Al Ansar and the Al Ansar Foundation.
Your perfect companion, Radio Al Ansar.
We're back. Assalamu alaikum. You are listening to the Social Network. We have a wonderful guest here in studio with us here this afternoon, Brother Yusuf Umar, who is a journalist. He's also the co-founder of Scene TV. Had a very interesting discussion with us earlier, but we're going to pick up where we last dropped off. I know the time is flying when you're having fun, especially with 15 minutes. We're going to try and cover as much as we can. He is on social media. He's got tons of followers, 74,000 on Facebook, 116 on Instagram, and the numbers just keep on growing. He is a journalist. He travels the world. He's a father. Looks like a young, bubbly man, though. Never say he's a dad. But alhamdulillah, we have him in studio. Brother Yusuf, Jazakallah khair once again for being on air with us here in Al Ansar.
Shukran. It's good to be here. Excited to meet you, and always great to speak to your listeners.
Absolutely. Now, what we talked about last was the whole Palestinian issue, that you sort of realize a lot of things. I was just scrolling to one of your videos not too long ago on the Blockout 2024 on celebrities, about those who haven't voiced their concerns about what's happening abroad. What is your views now? Because as you said earlier, the world was blinded by the story of the narrative that was told to us for 75 years, which was a false narrative. It was sort of like the Diet Coke of stories. Now we got the original. We get the hardcore flavors now. Explain to us how this October 7th has sparked so much awareness what's happening in Palestine, and tell us about your journey covering the story over the past several months.
Oh, mate. Yes. I mean, we've been covering Palestine for years now, long before October 7th. Myself and my co-founder, Samaya Omar, have had the opportunity to travel to the West Bank on 2 particular visits where we were able to train Palestinian communities how to tell stories with their phones. So really, really amazing stuff. The cat is truly out of the bag post October 7th.
Yeah.
I think, could you imagine just for a moment being on the Israeli media and communications team? Like, what do you do? How do you approach this right now? Because you want to talk about October 7th. You want to say, yo, we got attacked and we're defending ourselves. But you also don't want to talk too much, because the next question is, well, why'd you get attacked? By who? Why are they angry? What are they angry about? And you don't want to go down that conversation. That doesn't end well for you, right? That ends in land appropriation, apartheid, segregation, settlements,
war crimes,
the world's biggest open-air prison. So, and I think what's happened is people around the world have started to ask those questions, right? They've gone a level deeper now. It's like an onion, and the deeper and deeper you go, the layers, you start to cry more as you get into those deeper layers. And once you know, you can't unknow.
Yeah.
Like, once you understand the occupation, there's no going back from that. People like to look back at history and be like, oh yeah, during apartheid South Africa, I would have definitely been with Ahmed Kathrada and Nelson Mandela. I would have definitely been on the front lines. Oh, and during the US slavery and segregation, no way I would have tolerated it. Now's your chance. Now all the information's in front of you. You can look online, you can learn. What are you going to do about it?
But that is true. We are living through the information age. And it's so interesting because I think a lot of us, our eyes become open due to the fact that so many media sort of, how can I say, big highlighted media things that happened in the past several years, especially with the pandemic. You had the KZN floods, you had the unrest, now we've got tornadoes, flash floods. These are all sort of the stories that we live by. But focusing on the narratives that is told to us through the media with fake news and what to believe in, people are pro-Israel and pro-Palestine. How important do you think the media is for communities and for countries as well, and how we sort of digest and consume media?
Traditional media have never been less relevant. I think Donald Trump weaponized this statement of fake news.
Yes.
And potentially illegitimately so. He kind of used it incorrectly. But post October 7, people are incredibly critical of the BBC, of the New York Times, because they've recognized the incredible hypocrisy of these traditional media organizations. I mean, just take, for example, there was a memo leaked by from The Intercept for the New York Times addressing its journalists. Its journalists were asked not to use words like genocide, massacre, carnage when talking about Palestinian lives. They were asked to use the word Palestine in very rare instances, quote unquote. So I think that like the covers have been ripped off, they've been exposed. We've seen that and you can't go back from that. Trust is one of those things, like a relationship.
Yeah,
right?
Once you break it, it's gone.
Yeah, it takes a long time to earn trust. It can be broken in a moment.
Yeah,
and as media, what else do we sell other than trust? That is literally the only commodity we sell, is the fact that, hey, when you watch my videos, they are legitimate. There's nothing else to it. So once you've lost that, you're done.
Yeah. And also the strangest thing, a lot of people have done research when going into the depths of studying the media, the name brands that we're all familiar with growing up, and they all have ties with a certain community, which is sort of like they control the narratives. What have you learned from all of this?
Yeah, so there's many sides to it, right? One, like, they are either a for-profit entity, and if they're for-profit, it's like, okay, well, how are they making their money? Okay, are they doing branded and sponsorship deals? Then they're beholden to their branded partners. Are they a public or state broadcaster? Then they're beholden to the state that's paying them or whoever it might be. So it's often interesting to follow the money. Maybe they're not a monetary play at all, right? If you look at other organizations, they will bleed money through their media and see, because they want to have influence in other parts, other businesses and parts of their operations. So it's important to follow where the money goes. I think the other thing about them is the way they tell news is completely different to how we do. So right now, there are basically no foreign correspondents in Gaza because the IDF will not allow international journalists into Gaza, which in itself is a ridiculous idea. Because if we know this occupation has happened for such a long time and it's such a big international story, why did you all not have officers there in the first place? Why are you sending journalists in or trying to send journalists in post-October 7th? You should have had them there for the last 30 years. But does that mean that we can't tell stories from inside Gaza? No. There are thousands, millions of people with mobile phones and incredibly powerful stories to tell. That's what we do at Scene TV. We are all about empowering communities how to tell their own stories. And then we have a team of journalists that are fact-checking, verifying, and pulling that all together. And that's how we've been able to create the Ahmed Alive series, which has now become a documentary, which is going to be screening here in Durban on Friday.
Yes.
These amazing pieces of content. And it's kind of the same in South Africa. When you look at the South African media landscape, what are we sitting with? We're sitting with E-News, SABC, the Independent Newspaper Group. And the biggest challenge is it's not really in a lot of those companies' interest to challenge the status quo. If you are white monopoly capital, why on earth would you do stories trying to question it? If you are privileged, why would you do stories trying to look at redistribution of wealth and repairing inequality?
To be biased, obviously.
There's just no self-serving interest to do anything about it. We're taking this from, we don't have that. So we've just launched Scene South Africa. And it's like no holds barred, right? We can do what we want when we want it. And it's just such an exciting opportunity to empower young Black South Africans around this country to share their lived experience, rip this country wide open and expose the inequality that we see here today, and hopefully create a more empathetic and understanding country. I think this country can be solved singularly if we just had more empathy. If we just had more understanding for each other. And storytelling is such a powerful way to do that.
And talking about the country, I mean, you've seen the latest with the election results, with the ANC losing its majority with a 40.1%. A coalition government has to be formed. What's your take on that? Is there pros and cons that can be said about this whole historic moment in South African politics?
So the first thing to acknowledge is that it's not unusual at all for a party that were the liberator of its people to suddenly start to lose the romance after 3 decades.
Yeah.
The same thing has happened in Kenya, and the same thing has happened in other countries around the world.
So it's a trend.
It's a trend. It generally takes about 30 years for the romance to die down and people to say, actually, things
I've met someone else.
Yeah. In South African colloquial, this is feeling a bit swak now, right? And I think in the South African context, patience is running out.
Yeah.
Right? We are 30 years after democracy. We have born frees that were not part of apartheid that are now 30 years old, and they are still systematically disadvantaged from birth. Right? And I think people are saying enough is enough. The middle class is not growing fast enough. We don't have access to basic things. At the same time,
like power and water, yeah.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a child that South Africa is like this country that's turned 30 years old, right? And when you turn 30 years old, you've got to get your stuff together. Like the Camry,
you're at the crossroads now, yeah.
The Camry that your dad has given you is now a little bit shaky.
You got to buy your own Polo.
You got to buy your own car. The clothes that you've given have completely outgrown, right? The clothes being infrastructure. The water and electricity in this country, we must acknowledge, was built for 20% of the population. It was built for the minority white people.
At the time, yeah.
Right. And 30 years on, we're like, did we not build capacity for the rest of the nation? At the same time, and I am not here to promote the African National Congress, we have to acknowledge the successes, right? We have to acknowledge that in 94, media flew here from around the world expecting a bloodbath. They thought this was going to be a bloody genocide after decades of persecution, and it wasn't. We had this peaceful transition to democracy. They called it a miracle as we emerged into this rainbow nation. We also did some really critical things. At democracy, about 30% of this country had access to running water. That number today is like 94%, right? So it is easy to bash, and there's a lot of reasons to bash. State capture is terrible. Corruption is terrible. There's a lot of awful things that we need to get right in this country.
We can't dismiss the good things as well.
But we can't dismiss that we have sailed through some really, really, really difficult. We picked up a really bad country. We picked up they didn't have a great hand that they were working with initially.
Yeah.
But I think 30 years on, people are frustrated. They're impatient. At the same time, all the parties are kind of like ANC lights, right? Like Zuma is formerly ANC.
Julius
Malema is formerly ANC. It's like, do we vote for ANC or this ANC or this ANC?
So I don't know what's going to happen. And your thoughts on a coalition government? Do you think it's good for the country? Who do you think they're going to be leaning towards? People are saying the EFF. Some people saying the DA. MK is not even going to be a sort of aftertaste to her, So what's your thoughts on that?
I'd encourage your listeners to watch Seen South Africa, where we've got Kunita Hunter, Nabila Sheikh, and a bunch of great correspondents that are discussing this very stuff and doing it in really funny ways. They've just done a video that's like Love Island.
Yeah.
You've got all these couples that are dating. I'm not sure how those coalition conversations are going to play out. What I am very conscious of and very concerned about is South Africa's position on Palestine. I think for all of their flaws, the ANC have not just since October 7th, but from the very beginning, been the loudest, most vocal supporters of the Palestinian liberation
because we
struggle.
can relate.
Because we can relate. We've been there. We've tasted apartheid. We know it when we see it. And I worry that getting into bed with coalition parties that may not align with those same values
is a bit dangerous.
Well, it just could impact how brazen we are on the world stage. Where we take the ICJ to the International Criminal Court. I just hope that the coalitions that are done, the deals that are done, maintain that position.
Absolutely. Now, quickly, we've got about 5 minutes left. I want to talk about Seen TV, your correspondence. I'm sure you're also excited talking about Seen South Africa. But talk to us about what Seen TV is all about. What sort of was the sort of catalyst to start Seen TV? Explain to us what Seen TV is and talk to us about the launch and your affiliations with various correspondents locally.
Yeah, so my last formal job was at CNN International.
Wow.
And I was working in London, and I realized there the drastic lack of diversity in that media landscape. I was one of 200 international journalists in London. I was the only one that identified as Muslim.
Wow.
People used to come and ask me for my opinion on stories about the Muslim world. It's like, guys, go find an expert. Like, I'm really not the guy to ask. The point is, they lack diversity. And if you lack that level of diversity, how on earth could you ever cover this beautiful, global, interconnected world? How can you really understand what's going on?
What year was this?
This was 2015, 2016.
Okay.
So our idea was, what if we trained communities how to tell their own stories and curated that into shows? And jump forward to today, we've built some amazing technology that basically remotely directs you through the storytelling process. You open your phone, you have a bunch of questions, you answer them. And this is what's enabled us to capture almost 5,000 videos.
Wow.
Massive. From over 140 countries. We've grown over 7 million subscribers. We've got this amazing, we've hired a really incredible team from around the world. So we're a journalism publication, but we do it in a different way. We do it by people sharing their lived experiences with their mobile devices, and we hope that creates a more empathetic and understanding world. We're really excited about a wearable future. I'm in the studio right now wearing a pair of glasses that have got
yes, I've noticed,
and artificial intelligence. We believe by 2030, everybody's going to be wearing computers on their faces. And somebody is going to build a media company for that future. That's what we're going to do. We're going to build that media company.
So you're thinking very long term.
Oh yeah,
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of have to try to envisage what the world looks like 5 or 10 years from now, and then start building the building blocks today.
Absolutely. It's so exciting that you got these sort of projects all lined up. So how can our listeners follow you, find out more information about you and your pages, and also get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'd send you guys 3 pages on Instagram. Scene TV is the main company. Where
that's SEEN, yeah.
SEEN, like you've seen something.
Yeah.
I know Scene is also a letter in Arabic.
Yes.
So Scene TV is the main account where you can find global stories about people creating positive change. Then you can head to Scene.Palestine, which of course is all of our coverage coming out of Gaza. We're doing some amazing work with the Gift of the Givers and the Coalition for Good. We've got a screening happening at NMJ on Friday at 7:30 p.m. Pull in. It is the Ahmed Alive documentary, and we've actually flown Ahmed in from Gaza. He's going to be here in Durban.
Wow.
So you don't want to miss that. Tickets are free. And then, of course, we've got Scene South Africa, which is the fastest growing and most exciting account right now. This is looking at South Africa today, but from a brand new lens, looking at the change makers, the innovators, the unsung heroes, talking about politics in a way that needs to be discussed, talking about those uncomfortable conversations that we all have at home behind closed doors about race, about religion, about inequality. We still have fresh scars, right? We all came out of this social science experiment, which was apartheid. And I think some of those conversations still have to be had. Right? When we live in a country where 80% of the wealth is still controlled by 20% of the population, that's not okay. That's not sustainable. It sounds similar to the unsustainability of what we discuss in Palestine and Israel, right? Our solution in South Africa to safety is building bigger walls and bigger fences and cameras. That's how we think we're going to stay safe. As opposed to saying, how do we pick people up with us? How do we grow this population together?
Absolutely.
That's what you're going to see.
And I've also noticed, as you mentioned, you're going into Scene TV, you're formerly with CNN, but I've also seen many other news agents, namely Mehdi Hassan. I think he's one of them. He started his own Zetoa, I think it is. Piers Morgan went on his own. Yeah, so a lot of...
Carlson.
Why do you think that's happening right now? Is it because they are limited of what they wanted to say, or is it because they just feel like now it's time to grow on another platform?
What do the media organizations have to offer you anymore? Back in the days, there was this massive infrastructure of big broadcast cameras and satellites, or a printing press was the singular only way that you could spread your voice to tens of millions of people. Now, you just need an incredibly powerful story and a connection to the internet and a mobile phone in your pocket.
Done.
And production values have also never mattered less.
Yeah.
In this like TikTok age, who cares what it's filmed on? It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these Mehdi Hassans, Tucker Carlson, Don Lemon, they're all going solo because they realize, hey, why am I growing your audience when I can grow mine? Why am I having to conform to your editorial guidelines when I can say what I actually think is happening in the world? And to be honest, I think it's a good thing. I think more angles, more perspectives, more truth.
Absolutely. And I think I find you remarkable as an individual. Even your dad said doesn't understand how your brain can think so many things all at the same time. But I am very honored to have you in a studio with us here today. There is our time. But what's your message to the youngsters, for the generation? I think it's very important for the youth to sort of take you as a role model to actually accomplish our goals in life, that you should take a leap of faith. Don't just stay settled in a comfort zone. How do we get out of the comfort zone and take chances and make mistakes and learn from them and become who we want to be?
So firstly, if you are looking for opportunities to get some grounding in the media space, we are hiring. And if you have no experience, it's totally fine. Get in touch with us. Drop me an inbox on Instagram, Yusuf Omar. We're looking for copywriters. We're looking for journalists, producers, video editors, motion graphics designers, a whole bunch of spaces. So you can definitely come and get some experience with us. And these are paid opportunities, of course. In terms of like chasing your passions, like there's so many things in life where you are waiting for somebody to give it to you on a silver platter, where you're like, oh my God, I just really want to be a food vlogger, but I just need somebody to give me a show. And it's like, what are you waiting for? Have you got a kitchen? You got a phone?
You got a fucking life?
I want to be a travel vlogger. All right, when are you on holiday next? Like, you don't even have to go very far. You're in Durban. It's beautiful. You want to be a travel vlogger? Start vlogging Durban.
Absolutely.
Like, I suppose my message is, what are you waiting for? If you have a mobile phone and you're listening right now and you aspire to be in the media space like so many Gen Zs do, what are you waiting for?
Just go out and do it.
Yeah.
I think people are fearing the unknown, but I think with your story telling us, just jump on a bus and just drive to Syria. As an inspiration, it's a starting point. We got one of our listeners saying, please thank Brother Yusuf for always accepting our invitation, from Sister Salma Kazi. And she's
cool.
Yeah, she is very, very cool. And we'd like to thank you once again for joining us. We make dua for you on all your journeys, and inshallah we make dua that Scene TV grows from strength to strength each day, and we'll see it go into the millions one day. And don't forget about us.
No.
You definitely come back in the near future. Yeah?
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Jazakallah khair. That was Brother Yusuf Umar, also being accompanied by his dad, which we also want to have a chat with him in the not too distant future. And that's a wrap up for today. A big thanks to Brother Muhammad Yaz for putting the interview together, to Brother Ted on the technical side, as well as Sister Rebecca on the phone line. That's a wrap up for today's show with myself, Brother Zahir, and the team. Until next time, look after yourself as well as one another. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Audio stream across the world on radioalansar.co.za.
Come get our Butcher's Best Full S at Jaggers Foods Cowie Park. Enjoy certified halal butchery products like extra lean beef mince for just $99.99 per kg, tenderized beef steak for just $99.99 per kg, natural lamb bride chops for just $139.99 per kg, and chabot wors for just $84.99 per kg. Deals valid until Sunday 9th June, only at Jaggers Foods Cowie Park. Now certified by the NIHT, the National Independent Halal Trust, across our butchery, bakery, and deli.
Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.